lights, camera, and action. Welcome to the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. Remember those childhood movies you loved? We're going to watch them again and find out if they're still as amazing as you remember. Let's get ready to join Anna and Jimmy as they go back and watch those movies you remember being oh so awesomely good. Horror movies that scared. Comedy movies that dared.
Damn!
And action movies so preposterously ludicrous that they defied the laws of common sense. Now, here's your hosts, Anna Santos and Jimmy Coates.
Oh, did it say that?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Welcome to the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. If you are joining us, we are about to preview not one, but two Nightmare on Elm Street movies. One a beloved 80s classic. The other, not so much in my research.
Valid.
I am looking forward to both these for two very different reasons. I'm looking forward to watching both these movies. I remember loving the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was the most terrifying one of them all. I don't know if it was my favorite. The 1984 original was not my first Elm Street movie either. I didn't watch them in chronological. I was too young. I wasn't
Yeah.
there. I wasn't going to movie theaters in 1984 when Nightmare on Elm Street came out.
No, neither was I, but Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984, it was actually the very first horror movie I ever saw.
Oh, nice.
Saw it on TV when I was down in Philly for my cousin Maria's wedding. I was the flower girl. I was also 8 years old, and it was on TV, and it scared the bejesus out of me, but I fell in love.
Yeah.
And thus began my horror journey. We'll go with that.
Nightmare on Elm Street 3 was the first Elm Street movie I saw. Yeah, in fact, Dream Warriors, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, number 2, and part 4, and then the first one. Yeah. I went to the theater and saw the fifth one with my parents. Pretty sure some of my brothers were raised because I was still pretty young when number 5 came out. So my brother was 4 years younger than I was. So
Jeez.
I actually went out as Freddy Krueger one year. I'm not sure when, but I hadn't seen a Nightmare on Elm Street. That's how iconic and well known, even as a little kid. You knew who Freddy Krueger was.
Oh, yeah. Cultural icon.
Yeah. And I saw a lot of trailers too. Well, back in they were 30-second TV trailers, but it was always cool when they popped on. Not like today when you can just watch whatever you want, whenever you want.
It's so weird to see kids like freak out because they can't, like when you start talking about how we used to watch TV
Oh,
or we used to watch movies, they're so confused.
yeah. Watch my 5-year-old go on a YouTube account that's not, I have premium YouTube, so there's no commercials. Sometimes she'll go on a YouTube account that's like one of the other kids, and then
Yeah.
commercials start popping up. Yeah, she loses her shit. Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Hey,
And then
old
you try to
man.
explain, you're like, yo, there used to be commercial breaks like every 50, like 3 or 4 commercial breaks in an hour. They're like, what?
Yeah.
And you had to wait a whole week for the next episode.
And there were like 5 to 8 commercials within those commercial breaks.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, she's sitting there going, "Are we poor? Can you not afford? Do we have to watch commercials now? Did you lose your job?"
That's amazing. This is
I
real standard TV.
Yeah. I remember being young and fucking terrified because he wasn't the 1984 one. He wasn't the wisecracking, loving rapscallion that we had grown to love. But he was. I remember him being very scary
I remember this movie
in the first one.
being in 1984, Freddy was menacing.
Yeah.
And it was creepy, and you definitely got like Stranger Danger vibes from him.
Yeah.
Whereas eventually he became kind of more comedic in the later incarnations.
Yeah, because 94 was a straight horror movie, and it was
Yeah.
made to scare. The third one, which I remember being awesome and might be my favorite, it started to get more comic book
Mm,
style, cool. Oh, yeah, not the first one.
yeah.
How long has it been for 1984 Nightmare on Elm Street?
Hold on. Let me do the math. At least 15, maybe 20 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's been a
I've
long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen any of them.
It hasn't been as long since I've seen the newer one, the reboot.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
but I think I only seen that one once. Maybe twice, maybe I saw it on TV afterwards,
I think it
but
was about
it's been
8
a
years
bit.
ago, maybe for me? Yeah, I think 8 years because there was a time where it was on Netflix,
Mhm.
and I was like, "Oh, I haven't seen this in forever." So I watched it, and then I think I watched it a couple times because I remember liking it for a very specific reason, but that was the cheese factor.
Oh,
So I was like, "This is a wonderful cheesy horror movie, and I love it."
see, and I can't remember hardly anything from the 2010 one.
Honestly, I don't remember much about it, but I remember it being super cheesy. That's what
Hmm.
I remember, like, being a super cheesy horror movie, but I found great enjoyment in that. Now, whether or not I still will today, it's a different discussion.
Well, I remember back in 2010, at first I was like, "No, no, no Robert Englund, no watchy watchy." And then, they announced that Jackie Earl Haley.
Yep.
I liked him. I liked him back in 2010
Mhm.
before that. So at first I was like, but then and it has a great cast.
Yeah,
Like
it's a stacked cast,
Rooney
especially for
Mara,
Yep.
Kyle Gallner,
Mhm.
Thomas Decker, Clancy Brown, who was friggin' awesome, Connie
Mhm.
Britton. Is it Britton or Brit? Yeah, Britton,
Mhm.
right? She's awesome.
She's incredible.
Uh Katie Cassidy, which I've seen her in, she was in Black Christmas, our So Bad It's
Yep.
Good version. She was in Arrow as Black Canary, Black Siren.
Yep.
Um, she was in my dreams a few times. No.
Dude, that was so creepy. What is wrong with you?
No matter what I do or how I try to come across with anything like that, just comes out creepy. I don't know why.
That laugh, the way you did it it was super, like
Guess my kids are right.
it was very much, "Come look in the back of my white van. I've got
Yeah.
puppies."
Yeah. Got an Xbox and a puppy back here.
"If you're real good, I'll give you some candy too."
Yeah. But yeah, no, the cast is great.
Yeah. No, the cast
Eh,
is great, and a lot of them were very, very popular at the time, and it was it should have been great.
well, let's look at some box office.
Yes.
Okay, so 1984, November 9th, Nightmare on Elm Street came out. Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street. So the first one, this is really interesting. The first one, the 1984, opened in only 165 theaters and it opened in 10th place. It had a budget of 1.1 million. It opened at little over 1.2 million.
Mm,
It ended with 25.6 and internationally 60,000. International was not very big back then, obviously.
no.
So it made quite a bit of money,
Yes, it did.
considering if you go that well, you have to double it to cover marketing and stuff. So, yeah, I guess whoever financed this was pretty happy. A thing that was actually really cool that I found out is it opened behind movies like the number one movie was Oh God, You Devil, The Terminator, Amadeus, and even behind the newly released Silent Night, Deadly Night. But it stayed at number 10 for 3 weeks straight, then moved to number 8, then to 12, and then back to 10, and it just kept staying in there,
Mm.
and it went up to only 380 theaters and still made 25 million. So wherever it opened, whoever decided to open it in their theater, they made some money.
It was a steady and I feel like because this is a classic, if you're into the patriarchy, a date night movie because that was very much the, "Oh, well, if you wanna, get a little action, you take
Yeah,
your girl to a scary movie. Then she doesn't wanna watch it, then you get to make out."
yeah.
So I have a feeling that played into this, By 2010, none of us were doing that.
Yeah.
The girls are
Yeah.
like, give me more blood and more gore.
Now we move to 2010, and Elm Street opened in a lot more theaters, 3,332. It opened in first place with a
Mm.
budget of 35 million. Its opening weekend, it made 32.9. Its domestic was 63 closing, and its international was 52. So it made $115.6 million when all said and done. It made money, and I know it made money. Wait a minute, 2010. There were still were there video stores in 2010?
There were
They
still
were,
videos, but
yeah.
they were starting to dwindle. We still have Blockbuster. Blockbuster was going strong. A lot of the indie places were closing down by then.
So it made even more money, and people would have bought it and streamed it,
Mhm.
whatever. So it did well that way
I'm
in the
surprised it
box
made that
office.
much money. I didn't think it had.
And then when I found this out, I'm like, well, why isn't there a sequel? And we'll get to that.
Oh Lord.
Okay, so let's do Tale of the Tape for 1984. A
Mhm.
Nightmare on Elm Street is a 1984 horror movie rated R and comes in at 1 hour and 31 minutes. Taglines. She is the only one who can stop it. If she fails, no one survives.
That's a shitty tagline.
Yeah, it's not very good. If Nancy doesn't wake up screaming, she won't wake up at all. Better
That's
than the first one.
better than the first one, but it's still not a good tagline.
The kids of Elm Street don't know it yet, but something is coming to get them in their dreams.
Okay, that's not bad.
That's
Too
not bad.
long, but it's not
Yeah,
bad.
you could have trimmed that a bit.
Yeah.
Synopsis. It's a creepy
This
picture.
I remember this scene and I remember it making me very uncomfortable.
In Wes Craven's classic slasher film, several Midwestern teenagers fall prey to Freddy Krueger, Robert Englund, a disfigured midnight mangler who preys on the teenagers in their dreams, which in turn kills them in reality. After investigating the phenomenon, Nancy, Heather Langenkamp,
Langenkamp.
begins to suspect that a dark secret kept by her and her friend's parents may be the key to unraveling the mystery. But can Nancy and her boyfriend Glenn, Johnny Depp, solve the puzzle before it's too late? And our movie poster. I've never been a huge fan of this movie poster.
No,
Like I know it's iconic and but it's just not like I like that one that was. Oh come on, yeah, that one.
that one,
I like
yeah.
that one that they redid for the Blu-ray or whatever it was.
Yeah.
This one is just. I don't.
Honestly,
I'm not a huge fan of it.
it feels super 1984 with the superimposing of images, the
Yeah,
transparencies, the
I'm sure in '84 they're like,
oh,
that's awesome.
groundbreaking in 84. Now you're looking at it and any graphic designer in the world is going to be like, that's shit. They actually
Yeah.
put that on posters?
All right. A Nightmare on Elm Street remake made in 2010 is a horror rated R and comes in at a 5 minute extra, 1 hour and 36 minutes.
Nice.
Taglines. Never sleep again.
Great tagline.
All you have to do is dream.
Perfect.
Welcome to your new nightmare.
Ooh, that one's very smart.
He knows where you sleep.
Eh,
Yeah. So far, if we're doing it by
by taglines,
yeah,
2010's
tagline.
winning.
Yeah, 2010 is winning by a lot. Synopsis. Teenagers Nancy, Quentin, Chris, Jesse, and Dean are all neighborhood friends who begin having the same dream of a horribly disfigured man who wears a tattered sweater and a glove made of knives. The man, Freddy Krueger, Jackie Earl Haley, terrorizes them in their dreams, and the only escape is to wake up. But when one of their number dies violently, the friends realize that what happens in the dream world is real, and the only way to stay alive is to stay awake. I feel like the other one kind of gave you more of a story.
Yeah,
And the movie poster for this one, see, I
great
like this
poster.
movie poster. This is a great movie poster.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
That I would get this tin or I would get this
Mhm.
framed. Yeah, cool picture. Those listening, it's just Freddy, and he's kind of folding his hands with the one finger blade
Hmm.
showing, and his head showing. It's kind of hiding half his face, but
Yeah, his head is tilted down.
his sweater is the red and green. You can kind of see that, but it's burnt and has holes in it, and it's tattered.
It's a
Um,
very gritty kind of
yeah,
image, but it still has a polish to it.
but yeah,
Such a
is it?
good movie poster.
All right. So that leads us to Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb. This is where we kind of get to the non-sequel part.
Mm,
Now, the first Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984 has 60 critic reviews at 95% positive ratings.
wow.
It also has 250,000 audience reviews, giving it 84%.
Jiminy Crickets.
That's even higher than both higher than The Return of the Living Dead,
Hmm.
which was awesome, by the way. Critic consensus: Wes Craven's intelligent premise combined with the horrifying visual appearance of Freddy Krueger still causes nightmares to this day. We will start with Fresh, and you can start this one.
I'm ready. Not since the shower scene in Psycho did one director discover our most intimate vulnerabilities. In bed, while we're asleep, in a state of consciousness where absolutely no one could help us. Rob Vo, Mania.com, original score, A. Off to a good start.
Yeah. I have no doubt that A Nightmare on Elm Street will continue to hold its coveted place in horror history. With a mix of originality and camp coming from a genuine fear, it's a film that can't be replicated. Christy Strauss, wonderfully weird and horrifying.
A fantastic horror film that still holds up resoundingly well today. Scott Weinberg, Fear Net, original score, 4.5 out of 5.
An actual story made by somebody who cared enough about his ideas to make them different and original. Tim Brayton, Antagony and Ecstasy, original score, 9 out of 10.
Still stands on its own as an intriguing and chilling example of how horror works best when the characters in the audience don't have to be lobotomized. James Berardinelli, Real Views, original score 3.5 out of 4.
And The Rotten.
I'm ready.
In this kind of movie, it's not the actor's sweat and tears the audience cares about, it's only the blood. Ralph Novak, People Magazine.
Ralph is not a good person.
And that's it. Because when you got 95% from this, there were two other ones, but they didn't have a tag on there. It was just,
Yeah,
you had to click for the review. So that was it. The bad reviews.
it's
Way to
bad.
set the bar real high. All right. IMDb, 254,000 user ratings give it 7.4 out of 10.
Hmm.
That's kind of high for IMDb.
It's high for IMDb and also ridiculously high in general for a horror movie.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a lot of user ratings, like for a horror
Yeah.
movie. All right. Here you go. You can start.
Horror's favorite neighborhood, 10 out of 10. Nightman, 85.
The Nightman. Arguably the best 80s horror film. 9 out of 10. Matthew
Norman,
Norman.
a little originality goes a long way. At 8 out of 10, Mental Critic.
Mental critic. Wacky, creepy, entertaining, and amusing. A highlight in definitive horror cinema. 7 out of 10. I'm going to say Detective McNulty.
Uh-huh.
Honorable mention. 1, 2. Here's my Nightmare on Elm Street review. Gresh 854. I didn't know it at the time. There were a lot
Wow.
of 1, 2. Freddy's coming for you play-ons.
I could see why. Dated, but quite enjoyable if you're in the right mood. 6 out of 10, Connor Williams, 22774.
I literally fell asleep. I don't know if I'm doomed now. 5 out of 10. Martoni 64.
Cheesy AF, LMFAO, 4 out of 10, C. Diggory.
Cheesy AF. Goofy for today's standards. 3 out of 10. Luke Lucasert
Sure.
84730.
Disgrace, 2 out of 10. Ian's mom, 99.
Ian's Mom 99, that was the only 2 out of 10 review in IMDb. Out of 1,000 fucking people, 1 2 out of 10.
Ian's mom, what is your issue?
I'll do the first one. 1
Mhm.
out of 10. There were a few and they were funny. Like there weren't a lot, but the scariest part of the movie is the 80s clothing. DeMarco 03483.
Yes, absolutely, I could do better. Jesse Garrig.
Who took over the casting after Johnny Depp was cast? Chris Stewart.
Spoiler, not epic. Very sad. Gonna go cry. Cat Katarn Skywalker?
Sure.
Pattern?
Pattern.
Skywalker? Sure.
All right, now let's move on to 2010. 2010
Mhm.
has 185 critic reviews, which meant a lot of reading, and it
Yes.
comes in at a whopping 14%.
Jesus.
1 4. That's 1 4, 14%. I think they were scared to do a sequel. It
Yeah.
has 100,000 audience, which is a lot less than the original, and it comes in at 43%. That's a little better.
Mhm.
Even from someone that's not good at math can figure that one out. Critic consensus is visually faithful, but lacking the depth and subversive twist that made the original so memorable. The Nightmare on Elm Street remake lives up to its title in the worst possible way.
Wow. This is gonna be harsh.
So you could start.
I think it's a film that succeeds within its own boundaries. For that, it does deserve faint praise. It's definitely the best of the recent horror remakes. Michael Compton, Bowling Green Daily News, original score, B minus.
And that's not even a great review.
No, no.
Many people have already made the mistake of holding this film up to the original, expecting it to be just as good, but it just isn't. However, taken on its own, it's still an entertaining horror film and an interesting take on the material. Jeff Beck, Examiner.com, original score 3 out of 4.
Not bad. Those who are old enough to have fond memories of the original are probably too old for this nightmare. Daniel M. Kimmel, North Shore Movies, original score, 3 out of 5.
Okay, yeah, that's. And when you have 14%, there is not a lot of positive reviews.
Yeah.
There are a lot of rotten ones to choose from, though. I will go first. The film's biggest sin is that it's just so forgettable, but it's far from the worst of the 2000 era horror remakes. Still, that's faint praise for a less than mediocre film. Trace Thurman, Horror Queers Podcast, original score 2 out of 5.
Yeesh. It's cliched, boring, and anticlimactic. Candice Frederick, Real Talk Online, original score, D+.
Yeah. So generic, so lazy, and so forgettable, they may as well have "We're Not Even Trying" plastered across the bottom of the screen. Scott Weinberg, The Horror Show.
Scott, you're so harsh. The real nightmare is the tragic lack of creativity in this new look of one of the genre's greatest characters. Jeffrey Lyles, Lyles' Movie Files, original score, 3 out of 10.
This is even less inspired and imaginative than the Friday 13th reboot and makes Rob Zombie's Halloween films feel like work of an auteur.
Oh, jeez.
Dave White, movies.com, original score 0.5 out of 5.
Dang. Like many horror fans, I approached viewing the recent remake of the post slasher classic with extremely low expectations. Not low enough, though. Brian Jurgens, campblood.org, original score, 1 out of 10.
Freddy can never really die, even if Hollywood beats him like a dead horse. Jessica Baxter, film threat.
Jessica's savage. I love it. Only a nightmare for fans of the franchise. Bumbray, Joe Blow's Movie Network, original score, 3 out of 10.
Okay, and I didn't realize I put so many because I've actually made a conscious thought. Just pick the funniest three or the best or wittiest, 3 or 4 of each. There were so many that were so kind of there were still a few pages left to go. I didn't even want to look at anymore because I
Dang.
already had like 8 of them there. Probably worth to go take a look at Rotten Tomatoes just to go through the beating this movie took from the critics. 105,000 user ratings on IMDb give it 5.2 out of 10. And that's kind of in line
Mhm.
for most of the horror movies we've been watching. Because anything like a 5, even a 4.8 can go either way.
Yeah.
So when you get down to 2 or 3, then you're in for a real treat, like like Leprechaun or Grizzly. Okay, so you could start with
People never gave this film a chance. 10 out of 10. Jeremy David Q now. I'm going to go with that.
like Marmite, you'll love it or hate it. I love it. Dude, if Marmite is your defense for this film, I've had Marmite on a few occasions. It is not good. It's gross. Ugh.
Sure, it's not as good as original, but it's damn good. 8 out of 10. Unique particle.
Nostalgia can be a nightmare. 7 out of 10. Al Clark 18234.
Don't be a Freddy snob. 6 out of 10. D. Abels 88.
A yawn on Elm Street. 5 out of 10. Hey, Sweden.
1 2. Boredom is coming for you. 4 out of 10. Arthur JF 1211.
This practically gave me cancer. 3 out of 10. Reynolds hates you. And if anyone's listening, if you go to A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010 IMDb and go to the viewer ratings and find 3 out of 10s and find Tara Reynolds hates you, her actual review on the movie is quite worth going to seek out and read. This practically gave me cancer is not the worst thing she wrote about this.
That's saying something. Wow. Twilight plus Freddy Krueger plus slightly better writing than Twilight equals this movie. 2 out of 10. Eric 726260812.
Now, there were almost as many user reviews as 1984 on IMDb,
Mhm.
and almost all of them are in the number one spot. I'll read the first page. You hear the second. All right,
Okay.
here we go. Michael Bay molested me. Penguin Blues. Next one. Everything about this movie sucks. Drama Queen 00469. Pointless remake number 86,452,317. Curiosity killed Sean. Who's going to kill Michael Bay already? Dinosaur Holocaust. That's first page of number ones.
I wish I could rate it 0 stars, but I haven't even seen it. Cheetah wings. My brain still hurts. Ironix. Michael Bay needs to be stopped. Stop ruining horror. Nicole 1022191. In the words of Jay Sherman, the critic, if it's a remake of a classic, rent the classic. Killer Mike 2178.
Yeah, Jay Sherman. I remember that show.
I love the hate that
Oh my
everybody
God.
has for Michael Bay. Well
There,
deserved. I'd like to point that he's a terrible person.
yeah, and he yeah, because he did, but he's done, didn't he do the Texas Chainsaws
I th- maybe there's
and
so
I
much
think
that I hate about that man. Mostly his like work ethic. Like he's done some stuff that I love. I love the Bad Boy. I love Bad Boys.
oh yeah,
Love
yeah, Con
Armageddon.
Air and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, like there's stuff he did the Friday the 13th apparently. He also did A Quiet Place. So
Oh,
like
well.
he
Yeah, he's
has stuff.
just a douche.
Oh yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003.
Yeah.
But there's some stuff where I'm just like, you're not a good person in general. So now I'm wondering how much of it. Oh, he also did the Ouija movies. I love those movies.
Never seen
Um,
them. And I heard they get better as they go, or the second one
yeah,
like was beyond better than the first one.
it was
Yeah.
actually. Yeah,
I'd like
I
to
really
watch them.
enjoyed them. But yeah, no, it like he's not exactly the greatest when I think he's better as a producer as opposed to a director.
Hmm.
So I think the less hands-on he is with the
Oh, he
day-to-day
was the one
production.
with the yeah, he also made all the Transformers movie. There were
Yeah.
a couple okay ones, but he was the one that got him and Megan Fox had a had a
Yeah.
huge blowout. Yeah.
But I mean, this is what happens whenever there's a producer or director that has a lot of power. They usually get away with a lot of really bad behavior because they're making money for the studio. They're making
Yeah.
money for, you know, in like product placements and things like that. So a lot is forgiven for the money. He's one of those people. So I don't know if he's mellowed as he's aged or if they're just like, maybe you don't talk to people on set.
Hmm. Yeah.
Stay in your office. This is your translator. You tell her what you want to say, and she'll tell the rest of them.
Yeah. Yeah. She'll
She'll,
autocorrect it for you.
she'll stop us from getting sued.
All right. Ah, crap. Which is which here? Shit. I'm gonna
What
say
did
this
you
is.
do?
I don't know which previews. They all have the following previews rated R. This one looks newer, so I'm gonna say this one is the 1984. Let's watch 84 first, maybe,
We'll see what comes up.
and see what comes up. I got it right.
I'm impressed with you already.
The kids of Elm Street don't know it yet, but something is coming to get them.
There's something out there, isn't there?
We just see cuts happen.
What did that, Lieutenant?
I don't know. There's a coroner got to say.
He's in the jar and puking since he saw it.
They're gonna kill me for sure.
Did you do it?
There was somebody else there.
He was locked in a room with a girl who went in alive and came out in a rubber bag.
No one knows where it came from or who it will visit next.
Nancy? There's something wrong with you. You're imagining things.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Do you believe in the boogeyman?
No.
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
She's the only one who can stop it. If she fails,
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
no one will survive. From Wes Craven, director of The Hills Have Eyes and Last House on the Left, a new masterpiece in fantasy terror, Nightmare on Elm Street.
It's a very early 80s preview
Early
trailer.
80s. I had forgotten about the tongue and the phone thing.
Oh,
And that
yeah.
was super gross. That was super gross.
All right. So, what is our predictions for Nightmare on Elm Street 1984?
I think I'm gonna like it. I don't know if I'm gonna love it though, but I think I'm really gonna like it.
I'm thinking back to that. I don't know if it was IMDb or if it was a Rotten Tomatoes critic, where it's a little cheesy, it's a little dated, but it's still
Mhm.
fun. Yeah, yeah, it's a lot of nostalgia there. The music,
Oh
the
yeah. When I think it was Johnny Depp was getting sucked into that bed, it's like there's the portable TV, that's a tube TV.
yeah, yeah,
And then the stereo came with it, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's a turntable." Like now
yeah,
it's super cute, but that was pretty much the only way other than tapes you could
yeah.
listen to music.
And everything was plugged in, and
Yeah, there was no wireless, nothing.
you know.
All the phones
No,
had
I think
cords.
I'm gonna like it. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna go nuts over it. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know if it's gonna hold up like Return of the Living Dead. Eh, yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna like. I'm looking forward to seeing it because it's. I'm with you. It's been about 15, 20 years.
It's been a really, really long time, and I know I've avoided watching it because
Yeah,
I have as you get older, you start having these really great memories of these movies and these great feelings attached to them, so then you're afraid to watch them again because 'cause you're like,
yeah.
"I don't want you to suck in my head." So
No,
I'm gonna hold off.
especially doing this.
Yeah,
Like
right?
so many movies have been butchered,
You watch it and I'm like, "I remember
butchered
loving
by
that
the reality of how
movie."
shitty they are,
Yes. So
and
I
some have
think
been surprisingly great.
yeah, some of them have been amazing and some of them have been very disappointing.
Yeah,
But, I think I'm gonna really like it. I don't know if I'm gonna love it.
yeah.
That's where I'm sitting.
I think I'm with you on this one. Yeah, but I am excited about seeing it.
Me too.
Oh, right. And the one I do not remember a lot of, but
Kruger! Come on out, you sick bastard! You open this door, Kruger! What do you think I did? I didn't do anything!
I'm having these dreams. And there's this man. And he's burned.
Don't fall asleep.
Never sleep again.
You have nothing to worry about. This won't hurt one little bit.
Okay, so either the editor of that trailer is a fucking superstar, or this movie is actually good.
I was gonna say it doesn't look bad
It doesn't look bad at
at
all.
all. No, it looks actually pretty cool.
Now, after we watch it, we can say whether or not the trailer editor is magic.
Yeah, and that does happen a lot.
It does.
Sometimes trailer editors are just awesome.
So awesome. Then you watch the movie and you're like, that is not what was sold to me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it looks good. And I don't remember a lot of it. It looks like a lot they took from the original.
Hmm.
The only difference is maybe I disliked it, and maybe a lot of people disliked it because it wasn't Robert Englund.
I can understand that. Yeah.
And he's so iconic as the character. Like it's not like Friday 13th where Jason has looked. Like Freddy talks. Freddy is a
Yeah.
character. He's more than just a look. But yeah, this looks from
It's
what I've
creepy
what
shits.
I've seen on the trailer,
Hmm.
I think I'm gonna like it. From what I've heard from the reviews and stuff, I don't know if I'm gonna like it.
But what about what you remember?
Yeah, see, I don't remember as being as hateful as
Yeah.
everyone else. I remember being like, that wasn't bad. That's what I remember. I remember actually thinking, no, it wasn't Robert Englund.
Hmm.
He can't do it forever, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I think I would have been more than happy that a sequel came out. Now,
See, I
there's a
remember
lot of movies
liking
I
it.
remember liking.
Yeah. Right. I remember liking it, but I remember that the cheese factor was high.
Hmm.
But I remember thinking it's pretty good.
Yeah,
Like this was pretty good. Like it wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't like OG Nightmare on Elm Street. Like it had a
yeah.
different vibe to it. But I don't remember a lot of like what's in the movie.
And see, I think Friday 13th would have been a lot easier because we liked the reboot.
Yeah.
I like the reboot a lot. But
I
you
like
just
the
need a
movie.
big dude with a machete and you're good to go.
Yeah, because then the only characters you really have to care about are the characters who are being killed or
Yeah,
trying to survive. This one, because the murderer or the slasher is such an integral part
yeah,
of everything. Like it's not just he pops up and kills someone. He torments them.
yeah,
Like that's his shtick. Like he goes around tormenting and stalking them and upping the fright factor that way. It's not just like, oh, look, this is a pretty field. Oh, shit, a machete just took off my head. Like, this is very different vibes.
Yeah.
So we'll see if the scary factor comes through.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to go watch A Nightmare on Elm Street 1984 and A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010. We are going to review them on their own and then see which one is the better.
I can't
All right.
wait.
Me neither.
You heard them. Movie time. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves a treat, and then watch a classic kick-ass movie from whenever the one we're about to watch was made.
That was
Hello
quick.
there.
Oh, shit. I forgot my microphone. You watch those movies quick.
Yo, your volume's like super high.
Is it hot? Okay. How's that?
Much better.
Yeah. That's much better.
Yeah, no, it was I watched it at like 10 speed and I just like powered through.
All right. So you have watched A Nightmare on Elm Street 1984.
Oh boy, have I ever.
Me too. Your initial thoughts?
It was okay. And I have a very specific we could talk more in depth, but
That's kind of
I
what we do.
did not remember a lot of things, but I will say this, it did have a very creepy vibe. I will give
Yeah.
1984 the creep factor, 100%. But there's one very specific reason why I did not like it, and that was Nancy. She
Nancy.
was terrible. Yeah, Heather Langenkamp.
Oh.
I
Yeah.
wanted to punch her in the throat through the whole thing. Other
Yeah.
than her, though.
Yeah, she beat out, actually, fun fact, she beat out Demi Moore, Courtney Cox. I think this was her first film project. It
Yeah.
had to be.
I hope so. Because this is yeah, it's not that she was bad. I
No,
think
she
she
was
was
bad.
just she was playing a different character than the one that was written.
Yeah. Yeah, I made some notes.
Yeah, I was like, "Girl, this is not what are you doing?"
My
Yeah.
initial thoughts, I had fun.
Yeah.
It is indeed not my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street,
Mm.
but there was enough nostalgia and originality that I did have fun watching it. It's not perfect. It has not aged great.
No. But
And yeah, no.
if you let it live in 1984,
Yes. And
fun
for the
movie.
yeah. And for the record, this was not my horror era, people. 1984, that was not my era. I was not a teen. I was not a young teen. I was very, very young. I saw this movie had to be a late 80s at the earliest.
Mhm.
Yeah. So this is not my
I
purists
thought
and
4
future
years after its
cult
release
followers.
on TV. We should be clear about that. But
When did you see it?
overall, I saw it in 1988.
Mhm.
Like, that's when I first saw it. So, it's
But
it's
again,
funny
you
though
saw it young.
I saw it very young.
Yeah.
I was only 8 years old, so,
Yeah.
like,
So yeah, it's not
it
your
made an
era.
impression.
Oh, well,
Uh,
yeah. Show this to an 8-year-old, it's still gonna leave an impression.
yeah. Overall, though, it had a good creep factor,
Yep.
you know, and if you look at the effects, they were pretty good for that time.
Yeah.
There was some stuff that was kind of, like, eye-rolly or laughable, but, I mean, I couldn't get past Nancy. She gone done fucked it up for me because I was just like, she's supposed to play someone who's exhausted and who's just been put through the ringer,
I
and,
made that note, and she
like,
was way too
she
perky and
blank.
energetic at some times, and then when she's supposed to be tired for a scene, then
Yeah.
she looks tired, and then she's
Like, sometimes she's just walking around like, "Hey, I'm gonna go make a sandwich," and you're like, "Girl, you're supposed to be trying to capture Freddy Krueger." Like, I don't understand.
or when
There
she's
was a lot
asking
of
her friend, "Did you kill her?"
yeah,
Really? You're not sure? You're being awfully
"Did you?"
fucking calm.
But it's also the way she act like, it's not even like, "Did you kill her?" No, it's, "Did you kill her?"
Yeah.
Like, do you want an apple? What? So she was my only real stumbling block in this movie. Otherwise, it was fun. It was a little cheesy.
Yeah.
You feel the nostalgia. You feel
The
the like
score
super 80s
was
greatness,
it sounded like a video game was being played half the time.
which is amazing. I was like, yes, give
Yeah.
me more. The one that played Nancy's mom really got on my nerves, but I was like, you're
Oh,
kind of supposed to get on my nerves,
one
which
that
is
played
fine.
Tina's mom. Jesus Christ,
Oh
mom of the year.
God, she was terrible. I was like, are you in a trailer right now? Like, you're
Yeah.
giving off trailer park vibes. This is not cute. And that was also how I knew Tina was going to die real quick. But
Yeah.
yeah, like overall, good time. Nancy just fucked it up for me.
Like what's his name from Child's Play, 1988.
Yes, the little
Mm.
annoying kid. Fucker.
All right, well, let's go through the first Nightmare and give our review and talk about it, and then we'll go to 2010. All right, so Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. Teenager Tina Gray awakens from a terrifying nightmare in which a disfigured man wearing a blade-fixed glove attacks her in a boiler room. Her mother points out 4 mysterious slashes on her nightgown. So creepy opening. Doesn't
Hmm.
mention here the Freddy making the glove and grunting and mumbling, like
I forgot
mumbling, like
about that, and I was
yeah, he
like, oh,
hates
this is nice.
kids and yeah. Take away those visuals, and you could have been any dad
True,
walking the dog
100%.
because even though the kids said they would do it, they don't. A
They all
dad at
said they would
3
take care
a.m.
of the
doing
dog
Xmas
if we got
presents.
him.
Yeah, yeah. Also, not all, but it's really starting to seem the more 80s movies we watch, parents in old horror movies just suck.
Oh, they're terrible. They're absolutely
I
terrible.
don't know why they were written this way. Maybe it's to like because you were aiming these movies at younger kids that I'd be like, yeah, parents suck.
No, it's because 80s parents were like that. Like, I think a lot of people
That's the
forget.
latchkey kids, right?
Yeah, these are
Yeah,
all like these are the Gen X parents,
yeah.
or like
I
the
was a
kids are
latchkey
Gen X,
kid.
so these are the parents of Gen X.
Yeah,
So you're getting a lot of parents who are like, fuck this shit.
yeah,
You're gonna be an adult. Get
yeah.
over it, wash your own dishes. Yes, I'm gonna
Yeah.
leave you for a weekend.
You're gonna yeah.
Like anybody
Not
would have
now.
done. My parents, are you kidding me? At 16, do you think they would have been like, peace out, I'm leaving? Not a chance.
My parents would have if they didn't think we'd burn the house down.
Mm-mm. My parents were convinced we were all gonna get drunk, do drugs, and possibly commit burglary.
Mm.
So I'm like, I've given you no indication that I would do any of that stuff, but
Now she has 3 or 4 razor cuts through her pajamas, and her mom. What is she's like? Either cut your nails or
mhm,
well, I had it down, or stop dreaming those types of dreams, something like that. And like break out the Parent
yeah.
of the Year award. Jesus, although it does sound a lot like me. I'd be like, Jesus Christ, do you know how
Oh,
much
geez.
pajamas cost? Cut your nails, Pine Cone.
Well, I'm sorry, but as a woman, she would have had longer nails, especially in the 80s. You're
Yeah, to make
telling me
those
your nails
cuts.
are so long, they're gonna cut through a t-shirt? Come on,
Yeah, I'd be a little more concerned as a parent. Like, how the fuck did you do that?
right?
And what was with the sheep or goat? Was it a sheep? Because it reappears later in one of Nancy's dreams.
Oh,
Is that
I think
because it
it's
was
a
the
goat,
cheapest non-lethal animal, or was it more
pretty much.
Freudian? Like they were all sheep being led to their slaughter?
Did you say Freudian?
Yeah.
Freudian.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Because when you
sounds
said
smart. We'll
Freudian, I
go with
was like,
that
"Are we
one.
hobbiting this shit?"
I'll just edit out the stupid.
No, man, it's okay. I like Freudian. We're gonna go on a journey. We're gonna go on a great quest.
Follow the sheep. He'll take you on your journey.
Probably sheep to slaughter, or
Yeah.
just a sacrificial animal, because usually it
At
is
first,
like a
I'm like,
goat or a
what's a
lamb.
sheep doing there?
Dude, there was a lot of symbolism, and there was a
Yeah.
lot of like random shit. Like we can get into that later, but I don't know if it's actually this where it might have been this scene where he's chasing Tina, where his arms extend. I think
No, I
it's
think
right off
that's
the top.
later.
Is that
I don't
later?
think yeah, he doesn't do it right away.
Mm. But anyways, when he does that, this was just 1980s. Like let's fuck people up.
Yeah. The following morning, Tina's best friend Nancy Thompson and Nancy's boyfriend Glenn Lance console her, revealing that they each had a nightmare the previous night. We're also introduced to Rod, who
Mm,
also claims he had a dream and woke up with an erection with Tina's name on it. Thought that was
yes,
funny.
yes.
In which
Although
Tina wonders aloud how her name could fit on such a small penis, which I also thought was awesome.
I was like, that's a good one. That's a good one. I didn't even see
Mean,
that coming.
but funny.
Yes.
Uh, the two stay at Tina's house when Tina's mother goes out of town, where Nancy also confesses to having a nightmare about the disfigured man. We also get the joke where Johnny Depp's, because now we're at their house, they're staying the
Mhm.
night. Johnny Depp's there, and we get that joke where the character explains that his cousin lives by an airport. So when he calls his mom, he just plays the sound effect of the plane flying
Yeah.
overhead. Of course, that goes horribly wrong, and laughs are shared by all. Tina's boyfriend, Rod Lane, interrupts their sleepover. They hear something outside. Glenn goes out to check it out, although very timidly.
Mhm.
And then it's sacked like an unguarded quarterback by Rod. Tina sucks as a friend because all is forgiven, and they go upstairs to hump.
Yeah.
Tina and Rod. Poor Glenn is on the couch alone and listening. One, Nancy sucks as a girlfriend. Two, they're lucky they cast Johnny Depp and not Charlie Sheen. I have a feeling Charlie Sheen would have tried to make changes to that script. I don't know why. I actually go, that would have been different if Charlie Sheen was in this movie.
I don't know if he had enough power yet to be making
No.
changes to the script. Although, let me tell you, the trailers would have been a rockin'. I probably guarantee that.
Yeah, the tiger blood would be flowing. When Tina falls asleep, she dreams of a disfigured man chasing her. This is where the arms come
Ah,
out. And Rod is awakened by Tina's thrashing and sees her being dragged and fatally slashed by an unseen force, forcing him to flee as Nancy and Glenn awaken to find Tina's bloodied and dead. Now, if you were to watch this for the first time today, nothing about this movie screams exceptional, like special effects wise.
no.
In 1984, and even later on, like this movie had to be a beacon for low budget special effects wizardry.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. Like,
But
seeing it now, you're like, this is what, like, 7th graders would do
yeah,
for a school project.
yeah,
Back then,
yeah,
this
it
was cutting
was.
edge.
And when I did some of the stuff for trivia that will put on the social media, the movie was done for 1.1 million. Only $57,000 was set aside for special effects.
Mm.
Jim Doyle, the special effects guy, knowing he would have his work cut out for him, accepted the gig because he was so desperate for work. He must have read the script and go, "Are you kidding me? You want to do what?"
Well,
But he did it.
when you work in production, you do the give me your dream list.
Yeah,
And then I'll tell you what I can actually do for the money you wanna get, because
yeah,
everybody's like, "We wanna do this and this and this and this, and we have $20."
yeah.
And
Okay,
you're like,
here
"I
we
don't
go.
know why you think that's gonna pay for anything."
Let me do this, this, this. Here's your dream. There, I reworked your dream for you.
Mm,
And it's another reason I want to get the Blu-ray or 4K and just watch. Or there's that Never Sleep Again documentary about all the
yes.
nightmare. That's like 4 hours long. That would be a good one to watch. I would love to watch some of this behind the scenes stuff. The next day, Nancy's policeman father, Don, arrests Rod despite his pleas of innocence. At school, Nancy falls asleep in class and dreams that a man chases her to the boiler room where she is cornered. And we'll get to this later, but the way they arrested Don with restraint and carefulness in this
Mm,
movie to how they practically beat the shit out of Jesse in the 2010
yeah.
version is way different.
It's super fun, and we can compare and contrast later, but the 2010 to the 1984 version, because they really are pretty much the same movie,
Yeah, there's a
but
like,
not.
but not yeah, and yeah, yeah, well, yeah, we will talk about that
We
because
can
it's
go into
clever.
that, but it's funny to draw the parallels where it's like, this is just kind of like a walk up and be like, "No, we're just gonna pull the car up, you're gonna stop,
Yeah,
and then we'll put you it's fine."
because
And
they
you're like,
even when they
"This."
handcuffed him, they were careful and they
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that
Oh,
and I'm pretty sure in 1984, the cops weren't that careful.
well, we also have to remember that Rod is white and a
That's
suburban
true.
kid. A
It
suburban
looked a little
teenage white kid.
it looked a little Italian to me.
He looked a little I don't know. He doesn't look like he burns in the sun.
No, I think it's like Rod Lane. It's pretty white. Yeah, Nancy falls and it's where she sees Tina and starts to follow her.
Yeah,
Tina's in the
in the body bag.
in the body bag. Again, the effects again for today's standards, nothing special. But I
No.
remember watching it even years after it actually came out for the first time and being impressed.
But the great thing is about these special effects, they're not so bad or so dated that it takes you out of the movie.
No, no.
And that's a true testament
Yep.
to the quality of them. Because you might see it and be like, they could totally do it better, or they could CGI it now and, whatever. But it doesn't ruin it where you're like, "Oh god, come on, really?"
Yeah.
You're just like, you still stay in, so it's not jarring you out of the movie.
Freddy chases her. Then she deliberately burns her arm on a pipe. The burn startles her awake in class, and she notices a burn mark on her arm. I noticed it right away before she stood up.
Yeah.
They had it done and ready to go. Nancy visits Rod at the police station, where he describes Tina's death along with his own recent nightmares about the same man stalking her in her dreams, leading Nancy to believe that the man killed Tina. At home, Nancy falls asleep in the bathtub and is nearly drowned by the man. Still creepy scene. Freddy's
Mhm.
glove coming out of the water like that.
100%.
And actually that entire underwater and it's all dark around her and just
Yeah.
the bathtub up above was again nothing outlandish, but it's still a decent effect.
Mhm.
You're right, it doesn't take you out. Yeah, so 1984, this must have been just amazing. And again, Dream Warriors was the first Elm Street that I watched. The effects
Mhm.
in part 3 blow this movie away, I think. It's been a while. But it also had 4 times the budget. And
Yeah.
probably by the sounds of it, like 20 times the effects budget.
Oh, I'm sure.
So,
I'm sure.
but it doesn't mean that I wasn't impressed with these effects, and I still enjoyed them watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nancy then relies on caffeine to stay awake and invites Glenn to watch over her as she sleeps. In her dream, Nancy sees the man preparing to kill Rod in his cell, but then he turns his attention towards her. Yeah, because Freddy just walks through those jail bars.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so then Nancy runs away and wakes up when the clock goes off. The man, Freddy, kills Rod by wrapping a bedsheet around his neck. This was a huge plot hole because Freddy can only get you in your dreams or
Mhm.
start manipulating when you're sleepy. How the fuck did he actually move an actual sheet to hang Rod? Answer that, movie nerds.
And I think Rod was awake when this
And
was
Rod was
happening.
awake. Yeah.
I can understand the sheet if Rod was sleeping.
Or if he was doing it in his sleep.
Yeah, and he was doing it with his hand, like, fine. But that I was like, "Rod's
That was a
awake.
little, yeah.
How is Freddy doing this?" Because this makes no sense to me. But yeah, no, that entire scene was a little bit weird. Because
Yeah.
like, she's walking through town, and then she's watching Rod, and I was like, "How are you watching Rod in your dream?"
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of, like, crisscross, make no sense.
Yeah. Again, it didn't ruin the
That one
movie for me
scene,
or
but I
anything,
mean,
but yeah. Like, it would have been better if he hung him in his dream and he was just hovering or floating in thin air in
yeah,
reality. I
or
don't know.
his neck like snaps and then he drops to the ground or something without
Yeah.
actually having the sheet there.
Yeah.
Something like that, but that's okay because this is a movie about a guy who's dead and haunts people's dreams, killing them. So,
Yeah.
suspend
Guess you
your
can't get
disbelief
too
for a hot
picky.
second.
Nancy runs away and wakes up when her alarm clock goes off. The man kills Rod, staging it as a suicide by hanging. At Rod's funeral, Nancy's parents become worried when she describes her dreams. Her mother, Marge, takes her to a sleep disorder clinic where, in a dream, Nancy grabs a man's fedora with the name Fred Krueger written in it and pulls it into the real world. So we get a little bit of science here. I don't think there was a whole lot of information about sleep deprivation and
Yeah, no.
at this time.
Well, there
If
was
there
enough
was,
to know that sleep deprivation can fuck you up,
yeah,
but they don't
yeah,
touch on that enough because poor
no,
Nancy hasn't been sleeping, but apparently she drinks coffee like it's water.
yeah,
Taking hot cups of coffee out of her mom's hand and just downing it.
yeah. Because if there was any signs, the people making this movie weren't using it,
Mm.
and This is, and like you just said, like this is another part of the movie showing its age. Nancy looks tired when it's time for her to fall asleep. When
Yeah.
it's not, she's got energy and pep, and she can scream and run. Like that's
Yep.
not how sleep deprivation works.
No. No, it does not. That was
Like,
something that I had a big issue with, where it's like she only looked tired when it was dark out.
yeah,
And I was like,
yeah, she
this
was
is
fine
both.
in the sun when during the day.
Yeah. But
There's
then
no
there was
problem.
also there was one scene, and I think we're coming up to it, where she tries to trap Freddie, and Glenn is supposed to be keeping an eye on her, which, by the way, Glenn is the worst boyfriend in the world. I just like to point that out.
Yeah, he
Um,
dropped the ball there.
he really did.
Coming up, yeah.
But it's so funny because she looks really deprived for a hot second, and then I think she pulls out a coffee maker from underneath her nightstand. Like, her mom never would have noticed that, but anyways. But then when she gets dressed, she's fine. She's perky. She's ready to go, like, slay all the dragons, and I was like, "You literally are supposed to be on, like, day 4 of no sleep.
Yeah.
You should not be moving this fast
No. No,
or
like,
that
for someone that
steady."
hasn't had any sleep for over a week,
Mhm.
I can barely yell at my kids if I don't get 8 hours of sleep, let alone a week.
I have gone actually working on some short films, like our final projects at film school. I have
Oh,
also
yeah.
like, I've pulled all-nighters, like, no I can be up for 48 hours.
Yeah.
But by the end of those 48 hours,
Yeah, you're done.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at people and I'm like, "I have no desire to talk to you right now, so if you
Yeah,
try
yeah.
talking to me, I'm just gonna call you a cunt and run." Like, this is not the time. So, I'm amazed that she's able to do with no help other than the occasional cup of coffee. She's just raring to go, but still sounds slightly stoned.
After barricading the house, Marge explains that Kruger was an insane child murderer who killed 20 children but was released on a technicality and then burned alive by the victims' parents who lived on their street, seeking vigilante justice. Nancy realized that Kruger, now a vengeful ghost, is killing her and her friends out of the revenge and to satiate his psychopathic needs. This kind of confused me. So Nancy's parents helped kill Kruger even though their kid wasn't a victim.
Apparently in this movie, none of the kids are victims.
No,
He was just the creepy man, and they were like,
living on the
"Oh, yeah,
street.
he's
So,
diddling the kids."
but he wasn't a child molester. In this movie, he's not, and because I did look this up, Freddy
Yeah.
Krueger in these movies was a child murderer.
Oh,
He
child
didn't
murder. Oh,
like,
yeah, that's
yeah,
right, the 20 kids.
yeah,
Right.
he didn't touchy.
But none of the kids die. It's just, like, I think a
No,
neighboring town or something.
yeah, and they killed him, and then the mother kept the glove. I'm kind of like, what? That's fucking weird.
I'm like, "Wouldn't you wanna dispose of the evidence?"
And wouldn't you want like maybe one of the parents that actually had a kid killed? Wouldn't they want that as a trophy? Like kind of being
To be
selfish,
perfectly
Marge.
honest, they would be the ones to kill
Yeah.
Freddy, not this random neighborhood filled with parents whose kids have not been killed.
No,
So weird.
yeah, I just found that a little weird.
This whole There's a lot of plot holes in this movie.
Yeah, they should have had Nancy have a brother or a sister who was killed
Who
by
was
Kruger.
killed,
Yeah, come on,
or
Wes.
even, like, other
Think.
kids in the neighborhood, like, maybe a whole kindergarten class that went missing or something. Give me something. This was just he was a child murderer. None of our children, but we're the
No.
ones who killed him. And then mom is Nancy's mom is just a drunk, and so she spends most of her time just looking dazed and confused.
Yeah. Yeah, she she was not good in this
I was
movie.
like, "What the fuck is this?"
Okay. Nancy tries to call Glenn to warn him, but his father prevents her from speaking to him. That is so
Mm.
gonna be me. You know, when my kids' friends call on our phone in the house that we don't have.
Honestly, it was a really great reminder because now every kid has a cell phone. So they're
Yeah.
just gonna send texts to each other
Oh,
or
yeah.
IMs, whatever, because
Yeah.
every house also has Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Remember the" well, I still have a landline, but I was like, "Remember the days when there was only one phone,
Yeah.
one number?"
This will never, ever happen again anywhere.
Nope.
No, and it probably had kids going, "What the? This is weird. Why they just
Except for
like,
maybe in my house.
yeah, yeah,
I'd
you
be
still have
that
the
parent.
same phone."
I'd be like, "Nope, you use that one with the short cord. You gotta sit there so I can listen."
Yeah. Glenn falls asleep and is killed by Kruger. Now alone. Okay, wait. Okay, I wanted a quick version because we're doing 2 movies, but this is really skipping over
This
a few
skipped
parts.
completely over his entire, like, death.
Glenn actually gets sucked into the bed. Freddy's arm comes out of it. His TV
Yep.
comes with him. His tube TV, his stereo or his turntable
Mhm.
or record player, and his mom walks in as a pool's worth of blood just being sprayed onto the ceiling.
That blood spout was amazing.
Another cool effect.
So cool.
Although near the end, you can kind of see how they, even back then,
Yes.
you could kind of see how they did it, but it was still,
It
yes, it was
still
very
looked
cool.
good. I was like, "Go ahead with your bad self, 1984."
Nancy puts Marge to sleep and asks Don, who is across her dad, who is
Mm.
across the street investigating Glenn's death, to break into the house in 20 minutes. No one's really paying attention because he's like, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, go get some sleep, honey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
"Oh,
20,
she needs some sleep."
yeah,
Yeah, she does. Your daughter just told you to check on her in 20 minutes.
yeah.
Maybe you don't just, like, dismiss her. But it was
And
weird because it was like a really just normal conversation. It was like, "Okay, sweetie, you go to
yeah,
bed now." She's like, "Okay, thanks, dad.
I'm surprised he
Bye."
didn't run over and give her a kiss on the
Right?
forehead. And is no one questioning these deaths? Not one
No.
person by now maybe raising their hand and being like, "Am I the only one that thinks these deaths aren't copacetic?" Like, no.
No. Not even a little bit because everybody's sitting there going,
Yeah, everyone
"There's
just
gotta
thinks
be
this is normal
reason why
shit
all of our children are being killed
from the inside out or
from the
yeah,
inside out or, from
sprayed
locked
up onto
jail
the
cells."
ceiling and yeah.
Yeah, literally liquefied. I don't there must be like, who does that?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Nancy rigs booby traps around the house and grabs Kruger out of the dream and into the real world. Okay, so now Nancy, sleep deprived, like going on 8 days, 7
Mhm.
days, is able to home alone her house in
Correct.
anticipation for Freddy. Like Nancy should be sitting in a corner reenacting a scene of the Muppets with socks on her hands as all this is going on.
She should.
Yeah.
But apparently she's MacGyvering the shit out of her house.
Ugh. The booby traps affect Kruger enough that Nancy can light him on fire and lock him in the basement. Nancy rushes to the door for help. Okay. Miss much? Oh my fuck. She goes into the dream. First, she says goodbye to her mom, who is drunk or pilled or something. She
I think
grabs
she might be
Freddy's.
on Oxy.
Yeah. She grabs Freddy's glove from the furnace,
Mhm.
goes to sleep. There's the sheep, I think. Gets chased by Freddy. He grabs her. She grabs him back. Alarm goes off and wakes her up. Police arrive to find that Kruger has escaped from the basement. No, they weren't expecting Freddy Krueger.
No. But remember because she
She was
breaks the
expecting him
window.
because she
She
tells him
was
that he's
expecting him.
downstairs.
Yeah, because she gets their attention,
Yeah.
and he was already on fire. So they come busting in because of the fire, because the house is on fire.
Yeah.
They don't know
That
that
he's in
it's
the basement.
the dream murderer in the
Yeah.
basement on fire.
I really can't complain. If I wasn't so lazy, I'd write my own. Nancy finds that because she finds his footprints, his on fire footprints are
Yeah,
like coming out of the basement, around the living room, and then up the stairs.
which was nice. I really
Yeah,
liked that
it was
touch.
really
It
good.
was a
Yeah.
great touch, yeah.
Because I think at this time the officers must just think that Nancy is a loon and just
They
set the
already thought that.
house on fire. Yeah.
That's why her
Nancy,
mother turned their house into Fort Knox.
yeah. That was a great scene when Glenn's parents were outside looking at all the
Mhm.
bars, and he's like, Nancy, stay away from our son. Nancy and Dawn go upstairs to find a burning Kruger smothering Marge in her bedroom. After Dawn extinguishes the fire, Kruger and Marge vanish into the bed. When Dawn leaves the room, Kruger rises from the bed behind Nancy. Realizing that Kruger is fueled by his victim's fear, she calmly turns her back to him, and Kruger evaporates when he attempts to lunge at her. I'm glad this wasn't the ending. I would have been really pissed.
Same.
Very anticlimactic.
I was like, are they
Um,
this is just a dream, this shit?
yeah. Then we jump to Nancy steps outside into a bright yet foggy morning where all her friends and her mother are still alive. Nancy gets into Glenn's convertible to go to school when the green and red striped top suddenly comes down and locks him in as the car drives uncontrollably down the street. Three girls in white dresses playing jump rope can be heard chanting Kruger's nursery rhyme as Marge is grabbed by Kruger through and sucked through the front door window. I did like that ending.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did
All
like the
right.
ending too.
So that is Nightmare on Elm Street 1984.
Yes, yes, it is.
What is your score?
Rent it. I don't think it's, unless this is definitely your niche and you fully enjoy it, it's not worth a buy. But I think it is definitely worth a rent. I think it's something that everybody should watch. Just because it's a cultural icon. Like, it is a part of movie culture. And I think everybody should watch it. Nancy's really fucking annoying. But other than that, it's a super fun movie.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of cheese, but you laugh, you have moments of tension. Totally worth the rent.
Rental. Regular rental.
Regular rental. Full price rental.
All right. My score. A Nightmare on Elm Street is just bursting with originality and nostalgia. The writing is not perfect. The acting is rough in some places. Chris Stewart from IMDb, when we did the IMDb reviews, who took over the casting after Johnny Depp was cast? That's what I was thinking a few times at this. But it is an original, and a lot of people complained when Freddy became more comical and a one-liner savant after Nightmare on Elm Street 2. But for us kids who grew up with him, that comical Freddy is our Freddy.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a nice, tidy package. Freddy's more menacing in this one than the others.
Oh, hello. Yeah.
Yeah, the effects, while dated, are still impressive considering the time and budget they had. And the fact that this movie has many numbers that follow it, it is still good enough to make you want to go on and watch further Adventures of Freddy. Is it as good as I remember? Yes, because I remember it not being my favorite and not being as fun as other outings. And that's what I got. I still enjoyed it. I still had fun watching it. Again, by the time I started watching Freddy, I watched Dream Warriors on TV first. I could only suggest buying this at a discount or a Nightmare on Elm Street bundle. Like if you're talking about Nightmare on Elm Street as a whole, sometimes you have a movie on Apple or Google that's for sale cheaper than the actual rental.
Yeah.
I would do that. As a review, this review on its own, it's worth a discount rental. If only to see where it all began and to witness Freddy's humble beginnings. No, I would not buy this on its own and have only this movie. I could not watch this over and over. It does not hold up that well. It is a fun trip down nostalgia road, and I can see myself watching again once I finish watching all the other Freddy movies and want to start over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
After I watched A New Nightmare or Freddy vs. Jason. I'm not going to watch 2 and 3 and then go back to 1 before I watch 5 and 6. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And again, it's not my Freddy. I was a little kid when this movie came out.
See, this was my very first horror movie ever.
See, that's kind of cool.
It has like sentimental value to me.
Yeah.
And it is
You still don't want to buy it.
Standard. I still don't want to buy it though. Because overall it's a fun movie.
Yeah.
I'd rent it.
Yeah.
Sure. If I had never seen it before, I for sure would rent it. But I don't think it's worth buying just because like it's not good enough.
Like I said, I would buy it if it was just as much to rent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would buy it if it was included in a bundle.
And if it was in a
all of
bundle.
the Freddy's, then I'd be like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah, because my parents loved this movie. This was their Freddy. My older cousins, who were all 7-10 years older than me, loved it. They thought 2 was okay. They all hated number 3 and 4 and 5 because it got silly and they liked the more scary, serious Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, this movie did have a really great creep factor. I will give it that.
Freddy was a lot creepier in this than in
Freddy was
the
a lot
other movies.
creepier. The scenes themselves were a lot creepier.
Yeah,
There was more buildup. I was like, yeah, I got you. Like, I
yeah.
like this vibe. Unfortunately, Nancy and her
Nancy,
mother,
Nancy's
they were the
mom,
worst.
Rod wasn't that great. Now, to be fair, a lot of these actors went on to become great. Like I even heard Johnny Depp did a few cocaine movies.
Really? I always wondered what happened to him.
I love
Um,
Johnny Depp.
it was funny though, because when Johnny Depp showed up on screen, I was like, oh, this was before his like super hot stage. Like
And
right now he's in his reclaiming his youth stage, which God bless. But yeah,
Wes Craven has said that his daughter flat out told him that if he did not hire Johnny Depp, like she had a fit when he even thought about someone different than Johnny Depp because she
really.
had the biggest crush on John. I don't know how old she was. She could have been 30 for all I know.
I mean, possible. But yeah, no, Heather Langenkamp is a very good actress.
I think because she is in the third one,
Yeah,
and I think she's a lot better.
she was just,
But
I don't
this
know if
one
it was like
was,
miscommunication between her and the director or like misreading the script or not, but like she was not playing the character that was written.
no,
So it was a very disjointed, like every one of her scenes was very disjointed where I'm like, this is not the emotion you want in this scene. I'm confused.
yeah.
But other than that,
Now to go back to when we were talking about when this was first written, Freddy Krueger was written as a child molester.
mhm,
And that's why he molested them and then killed them. And at the time in California, there were a bunch of high profile child molestation cases
mm.
in the news, and then they thought this might not be a good idea to do that. So they cut that. So he just killed children.
You know, as you do.
Yeah, I guess it's a little better. But it definitely, yeah, I could see why they did that.
Well, yeah.
Now, have you watched A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010?
Yeah, I have.
I have too. What are your initial thoughts?
It's a lot slower than I remember it being.
Yeah, I don't remember it, so I didn't
Yeah.
have that.
No, I remembered it being like a pretty decent horror movie, and don't get me wrong, overall, it is. But there were some points where I was bored during it.
A lot more story.
Which
Lot more
which
story.
I like, because I like the buildup and I like but it did slow it down a little bit. It did slow
Yep.
down the pace a bit. Other than that, though, I was like, "Man, they really flesh everything out."
Yeah.
Like, they give
And
you the backstory.
that's a good point because another thing that I dislike because when you see Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4 before you see number 1, 3 and 4 and 5 and all the rest of them do move at a much action. There's a lot more
Mhm.
action and a quicker pace to them. Nightmare on Elm Street 1984 compared to those movies did go a lot slower.
Yeah.
And you're right. Yeah, this one did seem a little slower fun. My initial thoughts, I think this movie got a bad rap even before it was released. I kind of did what we did. I went in, and this is not a Robert Englund movie. I didn't go in expecting it. I knew it wasn't going to because I saw it a long time ago. I read all the bad reviews, so my bar was already set really low.
Oh, I went into it not even necessarily associating it with any
No, nothing about
Nightmare on
Nightmare on
Elm
Elm Street.
Streets before.
Nope.
I was like, "No, we're starting fresh." And I think that's also why I was almost a little not quite surprised, but kinda surprised that there were so many callbacks to the original,
Hmm.
where it really did feel like just an updated remake.
Yeah,
Like, they were not rebooting, they were not reimagining. It's almost like they just fleshed out the first one a
yeah.
little bit more.
Exactly, because actually, in the end, it was slower at parts, but I actually had
Mhm.
fun watching this movie.
Yeah, the
It
only issue I had with it, because overall I was like, "It's a pretty solid horror movie." Like,
it's
I
yeah,
don't know why
it's
everybody's complaining.
yeah, like 14%, and
Yeah,
again,
That's
I
a
know
little
I say this
harsh.
a lot. Leprechaun got 26. Are you fucking kidding?
I know. I know. But yeah, no, I was like, it was a solid horror movie.
Yeah.
Was the pacing a little slow in the beginning? Yes,
They could have shaved a few
100%.
minutes off
They
this
could
too.
shave.
Yeah.
They could do a little bit of rewriting to, like, make it a little more tighter,
Yeah.
but overall,
Yeah, it
I was
wasn't.
like, "This is actually a really good movie."
Yeah, it's not my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street, but yeah,
No.
I had fun actually watching
Yeah.
it. I was actually surprised, and I don't know if it was because although the reviews were relentless.
Oh, the reviews were so harsh.
Yeah, but once you take Robert Englund out of your mind,
Yeah.
it's fine. It
Well,
really is.
this Freddy made me more uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. This was, and you see
100%.
what they were going for. They weren't going for anything like the other. They wanted a creepier.
Yeah. Like Predator. This Freddy was way more of a predator,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
like, "You're making me super uncomfortable, sir."
And it makes sense when you watch what I remember of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003. They wanted it to be more, make it more disturbing. And
Yeah.
Friday 13th, the reboot, it
Mhm.
was more, he was more menacing. They
Yes.
wanted to do the same thing here. And I think they accomplished it for better or
100%.
worse. But all right, well, let's go through this movie. While at the Springwood Diner, Dean Russell falls asleep at the table and meets a severely burned man in seared clothes wearing a bladed gardener's glove on his right hand. Okay, first, say what you want. The effects in this movie are fantastic.
So good.
Yeah. This is what you get when you have a $35 million budget compared to 1 point.
Correct.
Also, when you hire 30-year-olds to play teens, so much better acting.
Yeah, yes, better acting. However,
There is
there
a
is a
trade-off.
they all look like 30-year-olds.
Yeah.
God bless.
Do you want realism or do you
Yeah.
want quality acting? You can't have both.
Nope.
In the dream, the burned man cuts Dean's throat. In reality, Dean cuts his own throat as his friends Chris Fowles and Nancy Holbrook look on. Great introduction and opening.
I love it.
Yeah, and because I think that I read that's a thing, self-harm
Yeah.
in your sleep as actual thing. So they actually looked into the science of sleep deprivation in this movie, and you can really, and sometimes I think that kind of bogged it down a little because they really, really got into it.
They were very authentic with it.
Yeah.
God bless. But at the same time, you're like, "Guys, you can take a little bit of creative license." Like, you don't have to go so far, like in the 1984 one where it made no sense and where, like, Nancy was just running around super rookie.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, "You guys are going a little extra."
Mm-hmm.
But I appreciate trying to make it realistic.
And it did have the same opening. The opening had the same feel as the
Mhm.
Texas Chainsaw remake and the Friday 13th remake, but it was made by the same people. And if it ain't broke, don't
I
fix it.
mean,
At Dean's funeral, Chris sees a photograph of her and Dean as children, but cannot recall knowing Dean before high school. Chris begins to have nightmares about the burned man and then refuses to go to sleep for fear that she will die like Dean. Jesse, Braun, Chris's ex-boyfriend, shows up to keep her company while she sleeps. But Chris meets the burned man in her dreams and is murdered. Covered in Chris's blood, Jesse runs to Nancy's house and learns that Nancy has been having nightmares about the same man, Freddy Krueger. They spent a lot of time with Chris.
he
Like,
did.
Chris was basically the star of this movie for the first 25 minutes.
It confused me. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
I thought she was the she was
I thought she was gonna
the
live.
final
Not
girl.
even gonna I was like, "Oh, okay," because we focused on her so much, and she's the one that picks up on, "Oh, he was dreaming. Oh, he said this. Oh,"
Yeah.
and you don't really see Nancy involved in any of that.
No, Chris
You
is
d
putting it all together.
Chris is the one putting it together. Chris is the one who's going to Jesse, her boyfriend, and being like, "Yo, this is an issue." And he's like, "Babe." And you're just like, "Okay, like, I get this." And, it was so and then when she dies, I'm just like, "Oh, oh, you're this movie's Tina."
Yeah,
'Cause
you're
essentially
Tina.
the exact same murder scene.
Yep.
And I was but at least in this one, like, Jesse is a little more helpful than Rod was, because Rod just cowered in a corner. Jesse at least tried to reach
Yeah.
for Chris. But yeah, it was a I was like, "Oh, oh, so you're not the" I thought they had just changed the Nancy character's name to Chris.
Yeah, I definitely thought she was the final girl. I was kind of bummed that she got killed. So this was an homage to the original, and it was a great scene. Like everyone was bitching about it was too much like the original. But if it didn't have anything from the original, they'd be bitching about that too.
See, but that's why I say this is definitely an updated remake.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, they were remaking the movie, but they were just putting in updates to make it more contemporary
Yeah.
and to flesh out some things that weren't necessarily made clear in the first one, or that didn't exist in the first one because of when it came out.
Yeah, but I like this scene. That scene was good, and it was almost exactly like the other one.
Yeah,
It looked better. It was updated,
it
and it
did.
did look it was better. Sorry. Jesse is arrested by the police under suspicion of murdering Chris. This is what I was talking about.
Mhm.
They arrest this guy. They
Yeah, man.
arrest him.
They really, really do, and that's how you can tell that this town is completely white because they have to get mean with somebody, so they
Yeah,
chose him.
yeah. And then Chris is killed by Kruger when he falls asleep in his jail cell and in front of his cellmate. Again, Jesse taken down by the police, much more realistic.
Mhm.
I did love the scene, Jesse being just like a little bitch, just like I would be.
You
Cowering at Freddy
identified
Krueger. Yeah.
you
What's that?
identified you
Yeah,
identified with the little
yeah,
bitch in him? Yeah,
yeah.
he's nice.
Offering Freddy to do favors if you let me go. I did also love how the cellmate just freaks out screaming. Like,
Yes.
I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Well, 'cause I like that there's the quick like, it's not a "What the fuck happened?" It's, "It wasn't me."
Yeah,
'Cause I know I'm locked in a cell with this guy, and he literally just burst open.
yeah.
"Wasn't me.
Who you
Wasn't
think did
me."
it? And this is much different than Rod getting killed, where it did make it look like a suicide, this one, but they had no one's gonna be checking cameras because there was a camera in that cell. You saw it when there
Yeah.
was a thing, but they never touched on that. So,
But I feel
but
like that's the great thing about this movie. They're not trying to like, Freddy's not trying to pass the murders off.
no, no,
He's like, "No,
no.
no, you're gonna know I killed them."
Yeah. As her friends die, Nancy questions everyone's connection to each other. Given that none of them can remember each other before their teenage years, Nancy and her friend Quentin discover that they attended the same preschool. Nancy's mother, Gwen, reluctantly tells Nancy and Quentin about Kruger, the preschool's groundskeeper who was accused of molesting the children, including Nancy. Gwen explains that Nancy was his favorite and that she came home one day and told her mother about the things Kruger did to her in a secret location. Actually, it was a secret cave, wasn't it?
Mhm.
And I thought this was great. Not the whole thing. I just but the lore, the back. I want to make
No,
that
because
really clear.
they make it super clear. It's not just like, "He killed a bunch of kids,
Yeah,
and then we killed him."
yeah.
It was,
There is a
"No,
reason they killed him.
this is what happened.
Yeah.
This is why we did what we
Actually, they
did."
didn't say they killed him. They said he ran. She said he
She
ran
said he
away when they.
ran.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that also helps with this because it wasn't just
Yeah.
when you finally hear about him and it's like, "Oh, and then we killed him.
Yeah.
See?" No, but it's like, "Oh, and then he ran," like, she's still trying to hold on to the lie. Like, this
Yeah.
carefully crafted lie that all of these parents created for their kids. They're like, "Yeah, okay, some truths are coming out, but we're just gonna gloss over it a little bit more because we don't want you to know the whole truth." And I
Right.
kinda like that.
And I believe it was Freddy's Dead, the sixth one. They try to give more of a backstory
Mm,
about his upbringing and him being his father, Alice Cooper, beating the crap out of him. I don't know if that made him mean. And in number 4 or 5, we learned that his mother was locked by accident in an insane asylum and
mm,
assaulted by a bunch of crazy people. But this actually gives concrete backstory to why, and
yep,
then gives us the possibility of it not actually being the case. Like there is a possible for a twist
yeah.
coming up. As a result of their insomnia, Nancy and Quentin have sporadic micro sleeps. No, 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 no.
No, no, no.
Gwen alerted the other parents. Gwen
Mm,
alerted the other parents, including Quentin's father, Alan. But she tells the teenagers that Kruger escaped before he was arrested. Refusing to believe her mother's story, Nancy attempts to track down the remaining kids from the school, but discovers that all of them have been killed. Following Jesse's death, only she and Quentin are left. I also like how she tracked them all down.
Yes.
Where we get the one kid posting online and see his progression of no sleep
Yeah.
until he has that micro nap and doesn't know if he's sleeping or awake half the time. He's saying, I don't get, and then all of a sudden he kind of dozes a bit and slams his face right
Yes,
into the
that was
camera.
great.
That was great. Meanwhile, Quentin falls asleep during his swim practice and sees a flashback to the parents led by Alan tracking Krueger down and burning him alive.
Mhm.
Then we start to get the hint that maybe Freddy was wrongfully accused and he wasn't touchy uncle after all, which I thought was a nice twist. That okay, so because I couldn't really remember, and I'm trying to think, was he wrong? Was I why he's pissed because he got wrong? That would make me angry.
Well, it's funny
So
because we've both watched this movie before. You don't remember it, but that's fine.
yeah,
But I remembered it, and I was like, I think I questioned it too the first time I saw it. And
yeah,
then I watched it again and I'm like, shit, am I misremembering? Because I remember him being a molester. So I was like, that was just really good storytelling where I'm like, oh, like I've watched this movie before.
yeah,
I remembered more of it than you did. But I was like, I've watched it. I know he's a child molester. I
yeah.
know it.
So
But I
I
still
thought this
questioned
was
it.
a good twist and a good plot.
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was a great way to.
Hmm.
Did they kill him wrongly?
Well, yeah.
But as a result of their insomnia, Nancy and Quinn have sporadic microsleeps and become hypnagogic,
Sure.
causing them to dream and hallucinate randomly. To try to stop Krueger, they decide to go to the preschool to learn what they can. On the way, Nancy is attacked by Krueger when she hallucinates, during which she pulls a piece of Krueger's sweater out of the dream world into reality. This was in the drugstore.
Yes.
Yeah, and again, I have to say, the special effects are really good.
They really are.
Really, really good in this movie.
They really, really are. The CGI in it, fucking awesome.
Yeah, and it's 13
So good.
fuck, it's 13 years old now.
Shut up.
I know, it's fucking sad. Quentin takes Nancy to the hospital where he steals adrenaline to help them stay awake.
Mhm.
Nancy and Quentin eventually make it to the preschool and uncover Krueger's hidden room to find proof of his crimes. And before this, there was a confrontation with Nancy and Quentin and his father, where the father admits they never had concrete
Evidence,
proof.
yeah.
Yeah. And he admits that they may have, in fact, murdered an innocent man because they never did find the cave.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was nothing but complaints that it brought nothing new to the table, this movie. I would argue that it brought a lot more to the table. Like in our reviews, that there was there people saying like nothing new was brought to this movie, blah blah blah. Like I think this movie brought a deeper lore or more.
It
They
it
flesh Freddy
yeah,
out more.
it definitely gave you more background.
Yeah,
It definitely gave you, even though the kills are pretty quick and early, but it gave you more information about the characters that you actually gave a fuck about them.
yeah,
And you were invested in this mystery of, how did they know each other? Did they go to school together? What the fuck? Why
yeah,
is Freddie after them all? You're a little more invested in that because you have more information. You didn't really get that with the 1984 one. Also, I would almost argue this is the movie they wanted to make in 1984,
yeah,
where they could say that Freddie was a molester, which technically is new stuff that they're bringing to the table.
yeah,
People want to get cranky about it. But ultimately, this wasn't a reimagining, it was a remake.
yeah,
This isn't a reboot. We're not making a whole new series. We're not going down a different storyline path. This is the original story from the 1984 one. They're just telling it in a slightly different way.
yeah,
And I think that's the problem. I think people were expecting revolutionary and very different.
yeah.
And they were just like, well, it's basically the same movie, but like updated.
And I truly believe this movie was going to lose either way. Even
Oh,
if they did that the opposite way of that and went down a different,
oh,
this movie was going
100%.
to lose. Yeah,
It doesn't
it had
matter.
no. Yeah, it's yeah. They realize that Krueger, now a vengeful ghost, wants revenge on them for disclosing his abuse. So
Mm,
this is where I thought they should have gone in a different direction, but we'll get to that after. But this definitely makes Freddy Krueger character more vile.
yeah.
Like he's just not murdering them. He's them kids be pedophiles and he's a monster. Like you really hate this Freddy.
Yeah.
He is a monster. And this I would counter to all the critics who were upset that this Freddy wasn't more humorous, because a lot of the reviews that we like, where's the funny Freddy and all that? Like, are you insane? I don't want a pedophile cracking jokes. None of those jokes would land well.
Yeah,
None. I
no.
guarantee you would get a lot more upset people. They decided to go dark, disturbing, and modeled the Freddy, I believe, correctly. Like, what would he joke about? What one-liner would you
Yeah.
want him to say? I'm not even going to attempt it. Like, the
He's
6 people that listen to us would cancel us.
This is not I taunt and torture people for shits and giggles.
No, yeah, he's
This is I
this
have
is
a
a
mission.
monster. Yeah.
He has a mission. He's out for revenge.
And where's the happy-go-lucky funny Freddy?
Yeah. I'm like, that comes later. After he's gotten his revenge, then he just starts fucking around with everybody.
Nancy decides to pull Krueger out of the dream world and kill him in the real world. Quentin tries to stay awake long enough to pull Nancy out of her dream when she grabs Krueger, but he falls asleep and is attacked. Krueger goes after Nancy and explains that he deliberately left her for last so that she would be comatose.
Mm,
This I also like. Like, that was
yes.
like I like, oh, that's why he wasn't attacking her as much. And
Yep.
because they did explain this, Quentin explained this to her, that after so many days that the brain will just shut down, and one of the worst side effects is you could fall into a coma.
Yep.
So this was his plan right from the beginning. So she'd be trapped in there with him for a long time.
Yep.
Ugh.
And I love it because that's
Yeah.
the ultimate, like, not being able to defend yourself, not having a way out. That's
Yeah.
terrifying.
Oh yeah. And that made him a great villain.
Mm-hmm.
Because where the other movies you're cheering for Freddy sometimes, or you enjoy like, you're not cheering for this guy. Like, he's just
Nope.
a shithead. Quinn awakens and uses the adrenaline to wake Nancy, who then pulls Krueger into reality. They fight, and Nancy uses a broken paper cutter blade to kill him before she torches the room and Krueger's body inside, along with every ounce of evidence
Mm-hmm.
of what happened. She and Quentin escape and are rescued by the police officers and firefighters, who are unable to find Krueger's remains. Again, I don't think they were looking for Krueger's remains. After Nancy and her mother return home from the hospital, Krueger suddenly appears in the mirror's reflection while Nancy screams. Krueger kills Nancy's mother before pulling her body through a mirror and disappearing as the movie cuts to black. I like the ending too. When
Yeah.
she bends down to grab her keys, and when she comes up, Freddy's behind her, and
Yep.
as the glass, and it just fixes itself, and that's it. It's over. And I like the 84 version, but different, but it left the door open for a sequel. We never got one, and that is our 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street. And your score on this one?
It's a solid rent it, but probably rent it at a discount. And here's why I say that. This movie is very, like, if you've watched any of the previous Nightmare on Elm Streets, this will ultimately, if you go into it, you may be disappointed. So that's why I say rent it at a discount, because I'm like, if you watched any of them before, you're not going to come into this with a fresh mind. So it'll still be good, but you can't help but compare it.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think people should watch it. It's a solid horror movie.
Yeah.
It's got an actual developed storyline. You get involved with the characters, and you're in it until the very end. So I'm like, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Period. Enjoy it. I don't think it's fantastic. I don't think people should buy it to keep on your shelf. But I mean, if you see it and it's renting for like $1.99, do it. Or even $3.99. If it's renting for $3.99, go ahead.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a fun, good, solid horror movie.
All right. Rent at a discount. What was your 84? Rent.
84 was Rent, but that's because that's a cultural standard.
Yes. Okay.
Like, that's a horror movie standard. I feel like everybody should watch it.
Yeah. So we got a rent and a rent at a discount. Okay. My score. Like I said earlier, I didn't hate on this movie as much as some, even back in 2010. But I was just as disappointed at no Robert Englund. And although I thought it was all right, I don't think I watched it since 2010. I like the movie. I know I'm in a small minority here, or we're in a small minority.
Yes, we are.
But the acting was good. The special effects were great. The story, albeit one where both movies are about a child killer, this one is much darker. But I had fun watching 30-year-old teenagers getting slashed by a killer. It was gruesome. It was fun to watch. If you have not seen it in a while for the same reasons of no Robert Englund, I would say give it a try again. Maybe this time knowing there is no Robert Englund might help. Taken on its own, I really enjoyed this movie. I would say rent it. It's worth a rental to me. Yeah. Again, now compared to put it in the Nightmare on Elm Street universe, it's just not. It's not part of that universe. It's not.
No, it's not part of that.
League.
Yeah, I think
two different, wildly different sets of movies and tones.
Very, very different tones. Very, very different. Like, you can see where they were trying to deviate from the original set of movies that came out.
Yeah.
And I understand why they did it, but at the exact same time, I'm like, it's good, but you can't expect it to be living in the old Halloweens or the old Nightmare on Elm Streets.
Yeah.
Sorry, you know why I was thinking about Halloween? Because I was like, the new Halloweens that came out with Jamie Lee Curtis feel like classic Halloween, like the first one that she did.
Yeah.
1978, if I'm not mistaken. So those ones that just came out feel like that first original movie.
Yes.
So you can kind of link them, even though they kind of say, hey, remember all those movies in between? Fuck them. That's not a real thing. Yeah. This one is like, hey guys, we're going right back to the beginning. And if we had to restart this whole thing, this is what we would choose to do.
Yeah.
So if you love the nightmares, the previous nightmares, this one will probably not hit as well. But if you've never seen any of the old nightmares, you'll probably really appreciate this movie and think it's a lot better than the majority of the people who have reviewed it on multiple platforms.
Yeah, it was harsh. Like, this is not a 14% out of 100 movie. Not at all. Again, it's not. It's the closest to the original Nightmare on Elm Street, but yeah, it's darker. It's it is different. Yeah, but no, on its own, I did enjoy it. I would watch it again.
It's
Absolutely.
a solid. Oh yeah.
Not tomorrow.
No.
But I would watch it again. Down the road.
In a few weeks, a little closer to Halloween, or when you have some friends over, sure, you put it on. Like, this is like, that's the thing. I think people take horror movies a little too into the heart. This is just a good solid horror movie.
Yeah.
And if you let it stand alone,
like
it's
Child's Play 2019,
exactly.
Alone, it's a
Don't
lot better
link
than you
it to the
remember.
previous nightmares.
No.
You'll be thrilled to watch it. If you're thinking of the previous nightmares, you're going to be disappointed.
And you have to remember too, if the original 1984 Nightmare on Elm Street, if they were originally made Freddy Krueger a child molester, they wouldn't have made like 8 movies after it.
No.
And they wouldn't have him as funny as he became. Like, the jokes would be wildly inappropriate. There would never be Freddy versus Jason. Jason would never agree to it.
Nope. Although that is one of my favorite and least favorite movies of all time.
I love Freddy versus
Freddy
Jason
versus
so
Jason
much.
is the most ridiculous movie, and I love it.
Yeah, it is a
I
very
actually saw
ridiculous
it
movie.
when I was scrolling to watch these movies. I was like, wait. I was like, hold on, you got Freddy versus Jason? Oh, I'm gonna watch that.
Yeah. Talk about cheese.
Right?
Yeah.
So
but
bad.
in so right way.
Oh God, yes. I might watch that this weekend.
I also think they should have made Freddy in 2010 innocent. He could have become more funny. After Nancy and Quentin, like, what is he gonna do? Like,
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, like, molest teens in their dreams. Like, that's not a great movie. That talk about being scared. Oh no, Freddy's coming to get me. There was rumors of a sequel shortly after, because this movie did make some money.
Yeah.
And because I think they were afraid after the beating it got with the fans and the critics that the
Yeah.
sequel would just be a waste of money, which is too bad because they probably could have done. They probably
They
could
could
have
have
made a
done at least
couple
a
more.
few. Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be no. They wouldn't become funny or anything, but they could have made
No.
creepy Freddy movies.
I
Now,
think it could have gotten darker as the movies went on.
yeah, yeah, and the effects. Yeah,
Mhm.
they could have really had something. It's just just a different. They went down a different road, and no
All it
one
is
wanted
it's
to.
just a different vibe.
Yeah.
It's what the first
And all
I'm
you
I'm
nerds out
convinced.
there ruined it for everyone.
Are you happy now?
Yeah. Yeah, are you happy now? So which one's the better one? 1984 or 2020? 2010.
It's a hard one.
It is a hard one. Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah, yeah. Give me yours.
I could probably watch the 2010 sooner than I could watch the
Mm,
1984 just because of the better acting, better effects. But it's like that thing when I said I loved Schindler's List.
mm,
Doesn't mean I wanna watch it all the time, or there's movies that are great, and 1984 is kinda like that. It is the original, it has so much nostalgia. I would say the 1984 is the more fun movie,
mhm.
just because we grew up with Freddy Krueger. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the first movie to that series. So I'm gonna say 1984, but I'm also gonna say that doesn't mean 2010s. Again, like I said, I would probably watch that if I had $5 and I was in a movie store and I could only buy one, I would probably buy 1984.
Okay. I'm actually gonna go with 2010.
You like 2010 better?
I like 2010 better, and here's why. They tell Freddy's story better.
They do tell a story better.
They get you in with Freddy, because in 1984, don't get me wrong, you get a little bit of why Freddy is Freddy,
Mhm.
but you get it, like, midway through the movie, closer to the end, and so far he's just a maniac, and you do get the creep factor, but you don't get the discomfort. 2010 gives you discomfort. It makes you super uncomfortable, and you get more and more uncomfortable as you learn things, and then you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh shit, was he innocent and they killed an innocent man?" And then you're like, "Oh shit, was he not innocent? What the fuck? Oh shit, there are pictures." Like, I think you get way more involved in 2010, and I think it just makes for a better movie experience. However, I'm still gonna say 1984 is a standard. It is a cultural icon, and it is something everybody needs to experience. Personally, I believe that.
Yep.
Unless gushes of blood, like waterfalls of blood, make you uncomfortable, then maybe don't.
Yep. All right. So Jimmy says 1984 and it says 2010. Deal with that. You can email Anna at a.
By all means, email me. I'll fight you on this. I have
And
no problem with it.
I agree. I was pleasantly surprised. Like I will watch 2010 again.
Oh, yeah.
I was very surprised at how bad it wasn't.
No, it's true because especially when you read the reviews, you're like, "My god, this is gonna be a big steaming pile of shit." And then lo and behold,
Yeah,
it's not.
it's
And you're
not.
like,
It's a decent by the books,
"Yeah,
darker version of Nightmare on Elm
it's a
Street.
little darker and it gives you a little more information."
Yeah.
But it's a really solid horror movie.
Yeah, the acting's decent. The effects are
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. I would, yeah. Yeah. So
Maybe I'm
I
just so
like
emotional.
I had fun watching both.
I did too.
Yeah.
I did too. Although Nancy from 1984, wanna punch
Yeah,
her.
the acting was
The acting was rough. Her and the actress that played her mother,
yeah.
I don't know what miscommunication happened on set, but they were not in the same movie as everybody else.
No.
And it was frustrating to watch, especially because Nancy's in almost every single goddamn scene. But for the most part, like, I enjoyed 1984 a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. It's just so much
Yeah,
nostalgia and so much originality.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, actually, yeah. So yeah, really, I both.
Yeah.
You're
No,
not gonna
both were good.
yeah, they were. In different ways.
Very different
Very,
ways. Let's
very
let's
different
make
ways.
let's make this very clear. They were both good, both different.
Yep.
You are not watching the same movie twice.
All right, so there you got it. Nightmare on Elm Street 1984 versus Nightmare on Elm Street 2010 until the next movie we remember liking. Unless there's anything else you wanted to add.
No, I'm good.
All right.
Congratulations. You just had one of your childhood movie memories vindicated. Or they just eviscerated it. I don't know. This is a generic one-size-fits-all type of ending to the podcast. So thank you for listening, and please join Anna and Jimmy next time for another episode of the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. If you dare to go back and watch that movie you remember liking.